This is the man to watch in Mexico, Gerhard Berger. He won for Benetton in 1986, and today he starts his McLaren from pole position ahead of Ayrton Senna. And we've got a bonus. Cameras on Berger's McLaren Honda and Senna's. At last, Gerhard's car almost fits him, and the extra comfort and mental well-being's made a big difference to the amiable Austrian. Riccardo Patrese next on the grid. The evergreen Italian took his Williams Renault to a well-deserved victory at Imola, and with a qualifying lap only 1/5 of a second slower than Berger, he could win again today. After 4 successive pole positions, Mexico qualifying's been disheartening for World Championship leader Ayrton Senna. He's only 3rd on the grid. But Senna won here last year, and this is his 100th Grand Prix, so he'll be even more determined to get win number 24. But here's another Mexico winner, Nigel Mansell, first in 1987. And Nigel's got it all together in his Ferrari, because he's alongside Senna on the grid and virtually matching his time. But Mansell's teammate, Alain Prost, is in deep trouble, 13th on the grid. After only 5 races, Senna leads the championship by 12 points, carrying the emotive number 27.
For the first time, the number 27 can have the award title. It's a long way to go, it's going to be tough, but the possibility is there, and we have to work hard and concentrate and try it.
Such is his lead that even if Senna failed to finish today, he'd still head the championship. But then it's close, with only 7 points separating Berger in 2nd place and Piquet 5th. There's a lot of problems for cars and drivers in Mexico. The 2.7-mile circuit is bumpy and very high. Jonathan Palmer.
Being 7,000 feet above sea level makes the Mexico circuit quite different from the rest of the Grand Prix calendar with regard to the way the cars perform. The fundamental difference, of course, is that the air is around 25% thinner, which affects the engines, the aerodynamics, and even the drivers. It may seem odd to talk of a Formula One car feeling gutless and slow, but that's just what they feel like to the drivers in Mexico. The power an engine develops is proportional to the amount of oxygen it can burn. So with 25% less oxygen, the Formula One engines produce 25% less power. Despite this power reduction, the top speed at Mexico is as high as anywhere. Although power is down, so is aerodynamic drag, and the cars can carve through the thinner air with less wind resistance. If the speeds are up on the straights, they certainly aren't on the corners. Now the thinner air is a disadvantage, for the downforce the front and rear wings can produce is reduced, as there is less mass of air pressing on them. Just to compound the grip problem, the unstable ground of Mexico City causes the track surface to be bumpier than any. Spare a thought for the drivers too. Like any athlete competing at high altitudes, he'll be breathing hard in response to the lack of oxygen for his lungs, and without the opportunity to acclimatise for a few weeks beforehand, he'll certainly appreciate the rest as he flies down the main straight at 195 miles per hour.
So, for the 2nd time this year, Gerhard Berger in pole position on the right-hand side of the grid. Alongside him, Riccardo Patrese. Then 3rd and 4th, Senna and Mansell. In 5th and 6th positions is Thierry Boutsen and John Alesi. And then Martini and Piquet, followed by Nakajima and Modena. Derek Warwick and Martin Donnelly in the 2 Lotus cars are 11th and 12th. Well, it's a 69-lap race. Any second now, it'll be away. And away they go, and it's a beautiful start by Riccardo Patrese. Patrese leads away into the first corner, the right-hander which leads into the series, and then behind him it's Berger. Senna in 3rd position, and now this is Michele Alboretto's car at about halfway down the grid. The Michele Alboretto Arrows, and there's one of the Dallaras in front of him, and that's Prost on the left. Prost started 13th on the grid, so he's got an enormous amount of work to do if he's to get up towards the front of the Mexican Grand Prix. But meantime, up at the front, Riccardo Patrese has got away to an absolutely superb flyer. We're still with Alboretto. I wouldn't mind having a look at what's happening at the front of this race, but I can tell you that it's still at the present moment Patrese, and Senna is starting to challenge. Senna is coming up through the field now. There is Patrese and the 2 McLarens. It's still in 2nd place Berger, but Senna is right on his tail. We're with Alboretto again in midfield and waiting now for them to come through at the end of the first lap. and Senna will be using all his racecraft and the very considerable power of his Honda V6 engine behind him as Alboreto, you can see how slow the Arrows is going.
Yes, Alboreto giving us a view of the back of the field and getting more and more distant as we go. Unfortunately, we'd quite like to know what's going on up front. And now, into the last turn to complete the first lap goes Alboreto. And here we get a look at the leaders, and Senna is right out on the right, and Senna somehow has got past Berger. He's got a good draft past Patrese, and Senna is taking the lead with Berger trying to follow him through and succeeding. So the McLarens go, surprise, surprise, into first and second. Patrese third with his Williams teammate Boutsen behind him.
Yes, Thierry Boutsen in fourth position, and there's Nelson Piquet in fifth position. So it's two McLarens, then the two Williams Renaults, and you can see how tightly bunched they are. Nelson Piquet, who's really rejuvenated this year, 1990, in the Benetton in fifth position, and therefore the leading V8-powered driver. So it's Senna, Berger, Patrese, Boutsen, and Alesi is in sixth position in the Tyrrell behind Nelson Piquet. In seventh position it's Nigel Mansell, who started fourth on the grid. So Mansell, you can see the Scarlet Ferrari leading Derek Warwick in the Lotus. Nigel Mansell had a very poor start. That was Martini behind Derek Warwick, and behind Martini is Martin Donnelly. It's tightly packed. There's a series of 10 corners here, but it's Senna, Berger, Boutsen is challenging. He's past Piquet. They're together now, and Nannini coming up through the field. And as I was saying, there's a series of 10 corners, and we're riding with Gerhard Berger now, and that is Senna in front.
So we'll watch them close up as they come on the brakes at the end of this long, long straight through the thin air of Mexico City, but of course that doesn't help their top speed particularly, because the engines are also suffering from breathlessness. So we see Mansell now. Mansell with a clear road in front of him. He made a poor start from the front row. He practiced his start as they went away from the dummy grid and laid 30 yards of twin black stripes down, and we surmised that that was probably to give him more grip as he was over on the right-hand side, which is not on the racing line and therefore dusty. But whatever his intentions, if that was the case, it didn't work, and he made a poor start by his standards. Prost has been moving through the field because, of course, coming from 13th on the grid, you see Prost behind Alesi.
And there is Riccardo Patrese, who finished in second place here last year, and he had a marvellous season in 1989 and won at San Marino this year, of course. Race order then on the 11th lap now: Senna, Berger, Piquet, Boutsen, Patrese, Mansell, and the gap between Senna and Berger, who is in second place, as you see, is just 5.6 seconds. Thierry Boutsen there in fourth position. Nelson Piquet keeping up the pressure. He's got Berger's car, and that is Nakajima on the left and Suzuki on the right. So the two Japanese drivers in the Mexican Grand Prix are now out of the Mexican Grand Prix. The Tyrrell of Satoru Nakajima, and Suzuki's being pushed, and of course if you get a push start you are out of the race immediately. He knows that, so he retires, and incidentally that's why the unfortunate Roberto Moreno didn't get to start. And you can see now Nigel Mansell, it looks as though the Ferraris have got their reliability problem licked. Mansell ahead of Patrese, and this is lap 20, and the race order then is Senna leading, Piquet in second place, Boutsen is third, and Mansell is really going well.
Yes, and we got Prost climbing all over the back of Patrase's car, trying to follow his teammate through. Prost has come up through the field pretty well, and in fact after their sort of rather up and down practice performance, although Mansell qualified pretty well, Prost struggled. The Ferraris seem to have got their race set up, quite well organised. Prost from his low position coming through the field, but of course meanwhile McLaren's out front stretching the lead, Senna still going away from the rest of the field.
And now, as you see, the Ferrari pull out and lap the Ligier with Riccardo Patrese. That's Nigel Mansell there in fourth position, and the race order is Ayrton Senna leading now by 16 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet who has got Thierry Boutsen behind him in third position. Then this terrific scrap between Mansell, who has pulled clear of Patrese, who is followed by Prost, and Prost challenging and being forced back, but Prost is not going to be denied that place.
Yes, he's a hard man to pass, Patrese. Doesn't make it easy. Prost had a look, but Patrese was pretty firm there, the way he shut the door. And one of the problems is that the Williams Renault is particularly fast on the straights. The Renault have really got things together with their engine. It would appear to be the most powerful engine in Grand Prix racing at the moment. They seem to be quicker on the straights than the Honda engine McLarens, even running a lot of wing. Now, Prost is absolutely perfectly placed to be in the tow for the main straight. This is his one chance, but he has to get it absolutely right behind the Williams. Okay. And Prost ducking out. They're past the back marker only.
Yes, so Alain Prost is still stuck behind Riccardo Patrese, and it is as they come out of the corner. Now there is Boutsen, who's got Mansell right up behind him, and so now Senna still leading by now 17 seconds. He's got a comfortable cushion at the front, he's not at all worried, and Nelson Piquet, who is closing up all the time on the Benetton in front of him. In fact, the story of this race at the moment, apart from Senna, is how extremely well the Ferraris are going, because you can see Mansell now is gaining. There's Boutsen, there is Mansell. So it is Senna, and then Piquet, and then Boutsen in third position, then Mansell in fourth place, then Patrese, and you see him now being chased by Prost in sixth position, who's got Nannini right behind him, and Nannini's just ahead of Alesi.
Yes, Patrese's been holding Prost up, and that's given Nannini the chance to close up. And Prost, the pressure is now on Prost to do something. And Prost has... And that's Mansell. Mansell going past now. Boutsen covered the inside line, and Mansell just simply drove round the outside of him. Tremendous stuff from Nigel Mansell.
And that is lap 25. Nigel Mansell then up into third position in the Mexican Grand Prix and pulling away from Thierry Boutsen. It's still Senna leading by 17 seconds. Piquet is in second position. You've just seen Mansell pass Boutsen up into third. It's Prost in fifth position, but Prost is gaining on Boutsen. And so then in sixth position is Riccardo Patrese. And there is Nigel Mansell, number 2 Ferrari. Well, if the Ferraris can keep up their reliability, they're going to be a challenge, because it looks to me as though Nigel Mansell is starting to wear down Nelson Piquet, and that is Nannini, Alessandro Nannini in 7th position, behind Prost, who is behind Patrese. So we've got 5th, 6th and 7th virtually together coming out of the Peralta. There is Nigel Mansell as Boutsen nips out of the Frenchman's slipstream, and through past Patrese goes Prost.
Yes, Prost looking down the inside there. And Prost made it through. Patrese now coming under pressure from Nannini.
So on lap 31, Ayrton Senna 15 seconds ahead. He's maintaining his cushion. But in second place, Nelson Piquet is definitely being caught by Nigel Mansell. In fourth position now, it's Alain Prost. 5th is Thierry Boutsen. 6th is Patrese. And 7th is Nannini. And there is the battle between, in 6th and 7th places, number 6, Riccardo Patrese, and number 19, Alessandro Nannini, the man who won the Japanese Grand Prix last year. And Nannini in the World Championship at the present moment is in 9th place with just 4 points. He's going to get a few more than that today to add to his score. And so, Mansell, Boutsen, Patrese, Nannini going through. Is he on the inside? Yes, they've cleared the Peralta, down the fast straight and up into 6th position then goes Alessandro Nannini as we ride with Gerhard Berger, who is chasing Jean Alesi. Now, Berger went into the pits, he had a tyre change, he dropped well down the field, and now Berger is up into 9th position, and that is the Tyrrell Ford V8 ahead of him. And this is the Peralta. This is 180 degrees, this corner, and believe it or not, they go round it at about 165 miles an hour. And this morning, Mansell was told he was putting 4.7 G around there, and Alain Prost looked across and he said, I was pulling 5 G round there, and Berger goes past Alesi. So Gerhard Berger moves up a place, but it is still Senna. And Piquet is now being caught by Nigel Mansell. This is the battle for 2nd place here in Mexico. And Nigel Mansell, who has come up from 4th on the grid, he slipped out to 7th on the first lap. He's fought his way back. He's challenging Nelson Piquet now. The Benetton V8 leading the Ferrari V12, and in the background, Mansell dives through. Is this 2nd place? Yes, it is. Nigel Mansell up into 2nd place on lap 37.
Yes, and fine driving there, the way he sold him the dummy. He moved to the left of Piquet, got Piquet starting to cover that, and then dived under him on the inside into the corner. So Mansell, I would expect to start pulling away now from Piquet. But he'll have to watch for Prost, because Prost is the man trying to make the charge behind him.
Yes, at the present moment it's still Senna, now nearly 18 seconds ahead of Nigel Mansell, and into the pits comes Riccardo Patrese. Riccardo Patrese into the pits. And so now, coming towards the end of the race, you can see there is Ayrton Senna, and right behind him is Alain Prost.
Jumping live to the race now, and Prost has caught Senna. He's been catching himself. This Senna appears to be in some sort of tyre trouble and struggling a bit, but can Prost pass him?
Just look at this. This is a 69-lap race. This is lap 60. Ayrton Senna leads. Right behind him is the reigning world champion, Alain Prost, who has already won for Ferrari. And Nigel Mansell is in 3rd position. In 4th place, it is Nannini. Up to 5th has come Berger after a sterling drive. 6th is Boutsen. 7th is Alesi. And down to 8th position has gone Piquet. But what a fight for victory. Prost is really pushing Senna.
Yes, it's been a fantastic day for Ferrari. They struggled in qualifying, particularly Prost. 13th on the grid he started. He was patient as usual. Prost now pressing, but he'll have to let Senna go through the quick one first. You can't pass into that. Now, let's have a look at the straight line speed of the Ferrari compared with the McLaren. Mansell right there now, because Senna is, if anything, holding Prost up. Prost had passed and pulled away a little bit from Mansell, and look at this. Now, Prost is going to be very keen. Prost diving inside. Senna, I'm sure, is in tyre trouble. And Alain Prost goes through on board with Ayrton Senna now. But Senna definitely struggling for grip. Prost will be happy to have him protecting Mansell, but he will want Mansell to pass for 2nd place, because he'll want that the extra 2 points taken away from Senna.
This is terrific. This is the first time that Ayrton Senna has been passed fair and square, except by Alesi at Phoenix. And there's a problem there. We just saw a flash of it. Marshall jumping up and down. But on lap 61 in this 69-lap race, Alain Prost, who won in Brazil, has passed Ayrton Senna, and I think, as James has said, that Senna has got a tyre problem, and that means to say that Mansell can probably take him as they come out of the Peralta and into the fast section down towards the series of 10 bends. And if Ferrari finish 1st and 2nd in this race, that is going to really give Grand Prix racing the fillip it needs.
Yes, and I think the problem you saw on the infield there, Murray, was only a Ferrari fan. I think one of the marshals might have been a Ferrari fan, because that was just seeing Prost in the lead. Now, Mansell, he's in the tow. They seem quite evenly matched on the straight, but of course Mansell has the advantage of the hole in the air, and ducking out And for sure, Senna really can't respond. He's quite clearly struggling for grip. And switching to the onboard camera in Senna's car, and just watch Mansell power away from him there. So, and that will make Alain Prost very happy indeed, because this is now a matter of points for the Drivers' World Championship, and if they finish as they are, Prost will pick up some 5 points on Ayrton Senna's lead in the championship, so long as Mansell provides the buffer between them.
Well, this is certainly not Brazil's day. Out of the World Cup, and now Ayrton Senna down to third place, passed fairly, squarely, no argument, no contention. In fact, you probably saw Senna, who's dropping right back now, wave his hand to Nigel Mansell out of the right side of his cockpit to say, pass me on the right. He's given up. He's driving for a finish now, and the race order on lap 62 in this 69-lap race. Prost leads, Mansell second, Senna is in third place, Nannini is in fourth position, in fifth position it's Boutsen, in sixth place it is Alesi, and in seventh place it's Nelson Piquet.
Yes, and one person who won't be content for second place is Nigel Mansell, of course, and I doubt very much whether the Ferraris have any orders, and I'm quite sure that he will be chasing Prost for all he's worth. But to be fair, Prost has caught and passed him as they were both racing hard on the road, and they were chasing Senna. And I think Prost has been consistently faster, although only marginally, than Mansell from behind when they were clear on traffic, and I think Prost seems to be just have that little edge. But believe me, Mansell will not have given up, because I'm quite sure he'd like 9 points just as much as Alain Prost would.
Yes, this is very important for both of them, especially as arrangements for the 1991 season are now being made. But you're watching the quite incredible Alain Prost, 3 times a world champion. He has scored more world championship points in a season than anybody else. He scored more world championship points in total than anybody else. And he has already won 40 Grand Prix, and that is a record too. Well, we're seeing a change of scenery here in Mexico. Ferrari always said in the season that when they got to the faster circuits, and that means France coming up, and of course Silverstone, which is just 2 Grand Prix from now, that they would start to close the gap between themselves and McLaren. They are certainly proving that here, 7,000 feet up in Mexico, and who is that off? That's Nigel Mansell spun off. But he's certainly lost his second position to Ayrton Senna, but he regains the circuit. Fortunately, he hasn't touched the wall, but he'll be down to third position. Alain Prost leads, Senna in second place, Nigel Mansell in third position. Fourth now is Berger. In fifth position, it's Nannini. In sixth place, it is Boutsen, followed by seventh, Alesi. And in eighth position, it's Nelson Piquet. And that's a McLaren with a tyre problem. And it's Senna. Senna is out of the Mexican Grand Prix. And this is lap 64.
Yes, and I think the tyres are just starting to wear out, because when we saw Mansell pull away from that spin, I didn't like the look of Mansell's right rear tyre either. And it's the right rear that's got on Senna's car. I was just about to try and get the mic to say that that looked a bit blistered on Mansell's car. So it looks as if survival of the tyres just to do the distance looks very marginal to me. Well, in fact, it didn't make it in Senna's case, but that means that both Prost and Mansell are going to have to be careful. Now, there is Mansell, he's recovered from his spin, got going again, and that was Berger just coming into the picture behind him. Berger just coming onto the straight now. Now, if Mansell's in tyre trouble, Berger had a stop earlier, had a fresh set of tyres on sometime between lap 10 and 20, therefore he should not be under threat of his tyres wearing out. And also should have a good bit more rubber left on them than either of the two Ferraris.
This is lap 65, 69 lap race order. Alain Prost is leading Nigel Mansell as Senna limps back to the pits. He's determined to get in and try to get a new wheel and tyre, but really he is history now, because third is Senna's teammate Gerhard Berger, fourth is Nannini, fifth is Boutsen, sixth is Alesi. John Alesi in the Tyrrell V8 is in sixth position and in the points yet again. Another brilliant drive by the Frenchman on a circuit which the Tyrrell does not suit particularly well. A lot of speed is required and real power, and of course the Tyrrell has got less of both than the McLarens and the Ferraris ahead of him. But now, with just 4 laps to go after this one, as that caption confirms, Alain Prost looks as though he is on his way to his second Grand Prix victory for Ferrari. He won in Brazil ahead of Berger and Senna. Senna is out of the race, and the race order now is Prost, Mansell, Berger, Nannini in 5th place, Boutsen in 6th place, Alesi in 7th place, Piquet, who was of course second for a long time. In 8th position it is Martin Donnelly. In 9th place it's Patrese, and into the pits comes Senna.
Yes, now it's not easy to get the jack under the car, of course. It can be a problem when the car's sitting down a bit with a flat tyre. And the other thing is that big piece of rubber around the rear suspension flails away and can very easily damage the rear suspension. No, Senna's getting out. He's reckons he's out of the points and had enough, and certainly he lost an awful lot of time limping round. So back with Alain Prost, now leading very comfortably. Mansell gave him some space. Senna dropped out. So Prost really just cruising to the line, doesn't have to push too hard now. And 3 laps to go. He will be fully aware of the situation. The Mansell dropping back, Senna out of the race where he would have seen Senna limping round. And of course, the pits can inform him on their radio. Now, Berger having a go at Mansell. Whee! Ooh, and that certainly was asking for an accident.
And that has taken Gerhard Berger up to 2nd place, and I bet there's going to be some discussion in the pit lane afterwards. Gerhard Berger rocketed up to Nigel Mansell with everything locked solid and literally pushed his way through into 2nd place. Prost leads on lap 67. They're coming up to the end of it now, just 2 laps to go at the end of this one. There's no way that I can see that Berger can catch Prost and do to him what he's just done to Mansell, but it looks as though Ferraris are going to be 1st and 3rd rather than 1st and 2nd, and I don't suppose they'll be too unhappy with that. Terrific achievement, but Gerhard Berger has come back after his pit stop from 11th place, and this certainly proves that the problems that Gerhard Berger had with fitting himself into the McLaren have been overcome, and it certainly indicates this picture that Nigel Mansell is not giving up. As usual, Nigel Mansell is fighting back. Probably the grittiest man in Grand Prix. There is Prost leading. He is on lap 68 now out of 69. And watch Mansell, because he's coming up to try and retake that 2nd place from Berger.
Tremendous fighting by Mansell. Berger's got the inside line. He's got the corner this time. And Berger arrived on the previous lap with everything locked up, but completely committed. Berger going a bit wide, and Mansell has pressured Berger into that mistake, but still Berger has the inside for the next corner. Mansell really climbing all over him. Tremendous fight for 2nd place, so this is really something, because Mansell, I think, is on pretty tired tyres, more tired than the rubber that Berger has, because Mansell's did Berger got a fresh set after 10 or more laps, and of course that's a big advantage because the car's at its heaviest for those early laps. But Mansell still fighting on.
And this is Berger. Are we going to suddenly see the Nigel Mansell Ferrari come alongside us as we ride with Gerhard Berger on the last lap of the Mexican Grand Prix, with Alain Prost seemingly going to win it, and Mansell going round the outside. Incredible! Up into 2nd place. He's regained that 2nd place, and now he's fairly rocketing away from Berger on the last lap in Mexico.
Absolutely brilliant manoeuvre by Mansell, fantastically brave. but he did it because you go high into that corner, and if you get on the outside where it's a bit slippery, but marvellous stuff by Mansell, but it's not over yet. Berger's a great fighter too. But I would suggest to Mansell, keep it calm now. If you don't make a mistake, you've got him. And certainly Berger did not handle the pressure. Mansell gave him so much pressure at the start of that lap and harried him all the way round that basically I feel he panicked Berger into leaving room there. And that was tremendous driving by Mansell. Really good aggressive stuff.
Yes, and remember Mansell and Berger at Imola. Mansell wasn't at all pleased with the Austrian there when Berger made him spin, and here is Alain Prost, the world champion, winning in Mexico. Alain Prost wins for Ferrari, and it looks as though Mansell is going to be second.
Yes, tremendous drive by Alain Prost, typical of the man, fighting all the way, and here we are. Here's Berger chasing Mansell. Now, the view from Berger's cockpit, the very last lap, and Mansell's got a car in front, but he's led him through. Tremendous stuff, and Mansell holds on. The finish line is too soon, crosses the line. Great race by Prost, very typical, got his car set up right, drove very methodically through the field, and then fabulous stuff from Mansell and Berger just to liven us up over the last laps.
Well, let's remember that Alain Prost started from 13th on the grid, and he's come from 13th to 1st in one of the most exciting and dramatic Grand Prix we've seen for a long time. It's really woken the Grand Prix scene up, so it's victory for Ferrari in the form of Alain Prost. And there is the 3 times world champion, who now, according to my rough mental arithmetic, moves up into second place in the World Championship. Then in second place it is Nigel Mansell. In third position, as you saw, almost second, Gerhard Berger. Alessandro Nannini gets points for Benetton, as does Nelson Piquet, because both the Benettons have finished in the top 6 places, sandwiching Thierry Boutsen in 5th place. So again, victory in Mexico to Alain Prost, Ferrari. Ferrari second, Nigel Mansell. McLaren third, Gerhard Berger. Benetton fourth, Alessandro Nannini. Williams Renault fifth, Thierry Boutsen. In 6th place, Nelson Piquet, completing the point scorers. In 7th place was Jean Alesi. In 8th position is Martin Donnelly, and that's an excellent finish for him. In 9th position, Riccardo Patrese, and in 10th place and lapped, Derek Warwick. So both the Lotuses have finished. But as I said earlier on, Mexico has been a turning point, I'm sure. There's Steve Nichols in the grey hair, and incidentally there are rumours here that Enrico Scalabroni, the Ferrari designer, is going to have to leave to make way for Steve Nichols to design the 1991 Ferrari. Anyway, wonderful race for Ferrari, first and second, and there is Alain Prost touring into the pits. Not a bad race for Williams, but not nearly good enough. Not nearly as good a race as McLaren would have liked, but Mexico has shown us that the McLarens can be beaten, that Senna can be beaten. And so now, with still a good number of Grand Prix left, we're not yet even up to the halfway point in the season. The next Grand Prix is at the Paul Ricard circuit in France, and of course Grand Prix is going to be there, and of course we trust that you are going to be there to watch the Grand Prix in France with us.